Well, hi everyone, and welcome to another podcast from the Real CD Show. My name is Chamberlain Burke.
And I'm Devlin Burke.
And we want to welcome you back. We hope you've been enjoying this series, if you can call it that. We've been examining women of rock music, and this week we're going to focus on 5 CDs in 4 albums by Joan Jett. Devlin, can you give me your impressions, your experience, what do you know about Joan Jett, and what do you have to say?
Sure. I heard about Joan Jett as I was looking for women in rock music, and I found her to be very. The first song I ever heard by her was "I Hate Myself for Loving You," and I found her to be very in your face, very angry, and I appreciated that aspect of her. I find her to her covers, and then I found out she did a bunch of covers of bands I like she covers AC/DC, she covers Love Hurts, which is one of my favorite non-rock songs, and a lot of the songs that I loved that she did, come to find out those were covers, and that made me want to go and research those artists as well and go read up about them and listen to them, which I think is very cool, because we have a tendency to move forward and not reflect on the past, and I think that's kind of important. To just kind of go, this is where this music came from. It started with this, and she has her own style. She's a little punkish, which I also like as well. Let's do this with you, because as a lot of people know from our podcast, you're very new to the rock and roll community, and yet you're very curious. And when we started this series, you were curious about women, and I figured you would like Joan Jett because she covers a lot of songs by artists that you like. Like she did the Belmonts, and I know you said you like them. She did quite a few covers that you like. So what are your impressions of Joan Jett?
Well, I had heard her hits. I mean, I knew who she was, and I had heard a little bit about her. And we listened to these 5 CDs. We started with a 2-album set called Glorious Results of a Misspent Youth, which has got to be one of the best album titles. And I don't know where my notes are. So here's what I like. I like the rock aspect of her rock songs. She does a lot of she does ballads, okay? And a lot of her music is love songs. And so we had a conversation, you and I, about where does she fit in. We spoke a couple of weeks ago when we talked about Lita Ford and Lisa Marie Presley, about where do they fit in if rock and heavy metal is predominantly male, okay, it's a male-dominated field, yet these women can come in with their own style and their own brand, and we feel they fit in this male-dominated world. So we said, we had a thing, I think it was when we were talking about Lita Ford, we were talking about, we don't want to say she's as good as a man. That's not what we're saying. We're saying she fits in with the predominantly male-oriented group, okay? So, Joan, we were trying to figure out, her vocal range is a little higher. She doesn't have the Bonnie Tyler, Kim Carnes, growling, raspy, alto sound. Her vocal range is a little higher. Her songs are love songs. A lot of them are ballads. A lot of them are covers. So I'm not saying she doesn't fit. We were just trying to understand where she fit in. Now, as for her music, very rock in a lot of ways. Good driving sounds, good vocals. The ballads are very much love songs. There are songs that that really, I asked you the question and I said, is she the Taylor Swift of rock music? Because a lot of her songs are, you know, I broke up with you and here's why. So there's a song on that two hit album, Secret Love, okay? and I made a note. It hits home for a lot of people because it talks about, I'm going to quote a lyric here. I'm with him, you're with her. Here, I'm with him and you're with her. There's nothing to do. Have to hide my secret love for you. She did a soft and sexy French song, which pushes convention because it seems to talk about three people in that little adventure. But it had a really good rock beat. She goes on to another ballad, Why Can't We Be Happy? Then there was, then she does these covers, and she takes these classic songs and she doesn't change them up. And if you've ever heard, for instance, Dusty Springfield did a song, I Only Want to Be With You. Big hit in the 60s. The Bay City Rollers redid it about 20 years later. I don't remember the exact year. I love both versions because they put a rock beat to it. Okay? But she did Tossin' and Turnin' by Bobby Lewis. She did a Chuck Berry song. She did the Everly Brothers. She did, just all these classic songs. And it's when you're hearing a rock album, and like if you weren't following the playlist, and you're listening to rock song, ballad, rock song, Crimson and Clover by the Tommy James and the Shondells, it kind of makes you go, whoa. So I like what she does. I like her song choices. I like her sound. I definitely think she is a female rock artist. She has good sound. A lot of them are not rearranged and redone. And one of the things I'll talk about, was the remake of the Mary Tyler Moore theme song. Okay? Perfect song, redone with a rock kick. Right. And so I wish if she were going to do these covers that she had kind of kicked them up a little bit. But on the other hand, she stayed true to them. Now, I know I just covered a whole lot of material here, but you did ask. Why don't you talk about something and then we'll go on to the other albums?
Sure. Like I said, what I love is that you tend to forget that they're covers until you go and you do research. You go, oh wait, this was a cover, and that makes you want to go back and review the cover, and you want to hear the cover, and you kind of want to compare the two. And I was especially curious to see how you would feel because, like, she does the Everly Brothers' "Love Hurts," and Chamberlain, you're a big fan of the Everly Brothers, and I was anxious to hear your opinion on that cover. And it's on the album. It's track 2 off of the hit list. I personally love what she did. You talked about how her voice is high. There are moments where her voice does go in a lower register. I think on I Hate Myself for Loving You, there's a bit of a growl. Even on Love Hurts, as you get deeper into the song, there's a bit of an anger, like love hurts, damn it, and it's and there's a little bit of a growl there. And so I think so that's what I think. And you wanted to cover the other album.
Right, we talked about the double album. Okay, so on the hit list. Okay, so she did an album of covers. Now these are songs I think I know all of them. Okay, the Everly Brothers song. She took the Everly Brothers song and redid it. She has a beautiful voice, and I think she covers it very well. I wish she would have changed it up a little bit, just a little bit. It doesn't have to be a tremendous amount. It doesn't have to be radically different. And there's nothing wrong if you say, I'm a rock artist, with saying, hey, I have a soft and tender side. I can do ballads and I can do love songs. I have to look at this from a couple of different sides. So if she's identified or has been, whether she identifies herself or has been identified as a rock artist, and then turns around and says that her way of pushing the envelope is to say, I'm going to do love songs, I'm going to do ballads, and I'm just going to take them and do them, then that's her way of pushing the envelope. And to do a rock version of that would not be pushing her envelope. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're
saying. And so I kind of struggle with what her goal is in taking a song and just re-recording it the way it was written. I didn't hear a change in tempo. I didn't hear a change in orchestration or arrangement. And the song is beautiful. It's not that it's a bad song. I'm just curious what the goal was in that. And that did not come through and was not clear to me. hang on, you have something?
Well, probably what I think the goal is probably I like this song, and if you want to do research and find out where it came from, there you go. Because like not a lot of people know who the Everly Brothers are. So if you take the song "Love Hurts,"
I'm sorry, I find that sad.
I know you find it sad, but that's okay. So then you go, oh wait, because that was what worked for me. I didn't know who the Everly Brothers were until I heard a cover. And I think that was "Love Hurts," and then I went to my mother and I said, "Mom, do you know who the Everly Brothers are?" And she thinks like you, so she went, "How do you not know who the Everly Brothers are?" And then she played it for me.
But how did you not hear the early stuff from the 50s or the stuff from the Mercury years? I'm sorry, I don't understand.
I know it's just a matter of it just never crossed my radar until this song. So maybe what the goal is to say there's other music out there, and this is the birthplace of rock and roll, because now, as you come to realize, a lot of rock musicians they do cite the Everly Brothers dual guitar. The Doors, a lot of people think that the Doors are just this weird psychedelic band, but then you go and you really listen to them and you go, hey, this band's got a very interesting point of view on things.
Okay, so you just made me think of something, and I realize I'll apologize. Okay, it's not that you didn't hear of the Everly Brothers earlier. I think what's most important is that you've heard of them, and now you know more about them. Okay, and the same thing with these, and you made a very good point there, thank you, is to do a cover album or to include songs. You just said a lot of people don't know who the Everly Brothers are. A lot of people don't know who Tommy James and the Shondells are. They don't know who Chuck Berry. And you just made a good point when you said this is the history of rock music. And if you watch Sam Dunn's Metal Evolution, he goes all the way back to Paganini, and he comes through the blues and all the gospels and jazz and how we got all the way through that earlier music. So you're absolutely correct, and I owe you an apology. You're absolutely right that by doing this and including these songs, she's giving other people a chance to understand not only do these songs exist, but who the artists are, who the composers are, who the lyricists are. And someday when we have a whole lot of time, we can spend a lot of time on where songs came from and how we got them. But another point that I'm going to make and add to this real quickly is if you realize a lot of people don't know who Beethoven or Bach or Mozart or any of the other classical composers are. So when you see something like Barry Manilow took a Chopin piece and used it to open Could It Be Magic, people go, oh, what a beautiful piece of music. I want that. And you find out it was based on a piece by Chopin, that he took a Chopin piece. Chopin wrote the Funeral March, okay? But it's this beautiful piece of music, and he put it into this song. Then that opens more research. That opens more education. That opens your mind to different types of music. And so that does serve a purpose, and I agree with that, okay? I agree with that. And by not changing it, she stayed true to it, okay? There are ways to do it. Like I said, Bay City Rollers did not do a disservice to I Only Want to Be With You, I don't think. I think that song, for anybody who heard it and went, hey, I like that song, was then introduced to Dusty Springfield, okay? Now, let's just keep on with Joan Jett, because I can go on about this forever. Okay, all right. The other two albums, I Love Rock and Roll and Up Your Alley, are very good. They have a lot of rock on them. What do you have to say about them?
I think I Love Rock and Roll was the first Joan Jett album I got, so that one and me have a close history. Again, great album. She does a great cover of Bits and Pieces by the Dave Clark Five.
Okay, this album has, like you just said, Bits and Pieces by Dave Clark Five. Bits and Pieces is not my favorite song by them. I actually like Because, but I like the Dave Clark Five. That just ties into our previous conversation. There's a song on that album called Nag that has a sound like the Beach Boys. Okay? And then that is also the album that has Crimson and Clover by Tommy James and the Shondells. So right there, you've got three songs that are historical to rock music. So I agree with that, and I did like the album. Good songs, nothing bad. I didn't dislike any of the songs. I did not dislike anything I heard out of 5 albums in one sitting. 5 CDs in one sitting. Okay, wait, I take that back. There is one song we did not listen to. I would not listen to Little Drummer Boy. Okay? I do not know why that was on there. Good for her if it's her favorite song. Not going to listen to it right now. It's February, okay? We got past that, so we skipped Little Drummer Boy. But it is the Little Drummer Boy. Okay. Then we listened to Up Your Alley. Let me see some notes on here. Oh, that's the one that has Tulane by Chuck Berry. The songs have good sounds, good rock songs. One ballad called Little Liar. But really good rock music. Tell me what you think about these last two albums.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I Love Rock and Roll was the first Joan Jett album, so that one has a closeness with me. Up Your Alley was the second one. I really love I Still Dream About You. It's got a little more. She tends to talk a little. It's kind of sexy because it's all about what this person has done to her, that she's dreaming about him. This lover has done so.
Taylor Swift.
Yes, Taylor Swift. I wanted to talk about something that I thought was interesting because we talk about she does a lot of covers, but I also don't want to discount her own songwriting as well. So like we have songs here that aren't covers, like on Up Your Alley we have I Hate Myself for Loving You, Riding with James Dean, Little Liar, I Still Dream About You, just like in the movies. Those songs aren't covers, so I believe those are her originals, and I think her songwriting is very relatable.
I do too. These all, I mean, there were songs in there that I was like, oh my gosh, that's my song. That's about me. And they are very relatable. They hit home for a lot of people. They're true to life experiences. Most of them are about relationships. And they're very much, they're about relationships, and they're about what we do to each other as people. In most of these instances, not all of them, but most of them, she talks about here's what you did and here's what you are, and in one she calls somebody a bad name and all kinds of things like that. That's why I said I asked you if she was like the Taylor Swift of rock music, because she just gets, she's in a relationship and then writes a song about it. But I think she writes very well. She writes for the people. Okay, she tells her story in a way that we understand. She doesn't use big words, you know what I mean? She talks about different types of things that happen, but if that's what you're doing, then you don't need to pull out the thesaurus and use big words. You're talking about here's what happened and here's how I feel about it. And I think she is a very good lyricist, and I think she's a very good composer. The band that backed her up were good. They were what's the word I'm looking for? The rock sound was there. The ballad sound was there. I'm very pleased.
Yeah, me too. It's she's very good. I think that with Joan Jett there is that relatability, and there is and I love her, and I will continue to support her. I do want to say what I love even more is I've seen pictures of this online. On her guitar, on the fretboard, I believe that's what it's called. It says on there, "Girls kick ass." And
good.
Too. So yeah.
So this is part of female empowerment. Yeah. This shows women can be rock artists and be successful at it. And they do fit in. While it may be a male-dominated area, women do fit in, and women fit in just the same. They're musicians. They are rock artists. It's not the girls against the boys and the boys against the girls. So that's what we have to say about Joan Jett. Please check out these albums, and including the cover album, because if you don't know who these bands are, if you don't know who these singers are, if you don't know who these artists are, please check them out, because it's part of the history of rock music. It is what got us to where we are today. And so please understand that they're important. Even British Invasion, okay? Tommy James and the Shondells. So that is our podcast for this week about Joan Jett and the history of rock music. For The Real CD Show, I am Chamberlain Burke.
And I'm Devlin Burke.
Thank you very much for your time and attention. We hope you enjoyed our podcast, and we look forward to seeing you in our next one. Have a good one. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.